Okay, so moving on, let me give you a little bit of an update what I did. I was wondering what I was going to use for the bridge to get that kind of a clear frost kind of look. And I was going to use some of the airbrush paint, the thin white paint, but I ended up using this on the Sensidome and on here. This is actually Elmer's glue. And the way it smoothed out, it actually looks perfect to be frosted. So this is all set to put on the ship. With this, it's a little bit different because the globe is going to be lit, and you can see there are areas that are going to be lit on the little square areas. So what I'm going to do is we're going to paint it. We're going to paint it black. And when that's dry, we're going to go over it with the silver. And then we can put a little bit of the Elmer's glue in the windows just for them to be frosted. Now when it comes to the impulse engines, what I did was, because they were painted red, but there's actually a line in the middle, there's a piece. So what I did was I went ahead and I painted it black for the light blocking. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the silver over that. And when it comes to the hull itself, all I really did was I went ahead and I glued the pieces, the top and the bottom together. So why don't we go ahead and we'll see how it looks. I don't know if we're going to have to, I'm probably going to end up clamping it again and just closing it out completely. And then we'll use the plastic putty. We're just not going to be able to do the impulse engines on the sides unless they weren't even made to do that. Maybe it's not fitting together perfectly, but you can see on the inside and the bottom. And hopefully you can see on the bridge area, where are my tweezers. And what we'll do is we'll put the bridge on. Actually, we can go ahead and do that now. All right, we're going to put another layer, or give it another dose of the Elmer's glue. But look how good that looks. The frost looks good. So we'll let that dry. And I think what we're going to do now is we're going to think about putting the impulse engines on. And these are going to fit on the inside. There. So we'll wait for those to dry. Alright, so now we can go ahead and we'll do the black. When it comes to the bottom of the Sensidome. I'll tell you the benefits of using the paint marker. It cuts in so nicely. There. Hopefully you can see that. That looks pretty cool. And we made sure to keep the sides clear. And you can see the dome itself. And then we're going to put actually some silver paint over this. And what we did with the black is only just to keep it masked so that it won't bleed through with the light leak. So now we got to wait for all this to dry, and then we can put it onto the primary hull, and we can think about putting on the decals. Okay, so moving on, I think what I want to do is I want to start getting the decals ready. And for this section, you can see this is going to be for the top of the saucer section. You can see the areas in the back that go with the impulse engines. Sadly, there was nothing to put in these areas for the impulse engines that are red, so basically because of the fit of the model, it was too small, so I had to fill it in, and we actually painted it. Actually, let me show you real quick to give you an update. A little bit of an update on the primary hull. So the bridge is on, and we went around and we put in the impulse engines. And what I did was I painted the black around the impulse crystals, and we'll be putting those in when we paint them. But let me show you guys what I meant about the impulse engines. Now on screen, there's impulse engines running along the edge, and it's red, but sadly, the way the model's made, that just can't happen. Plus, there was nothing to put there anyway. So you can see I still need to give another coat on the impulse engines because they're a little translucent, a little too translucent, but you can see all the light is blocked when it comes to the sides where the impulse engine should be. You can see the bridge. I think it came out pretty good with the Elmer's glue, and you can see where the sensor dome is going to go. So when it comes to the sensor dome, we had painted it black, and then we masked off, well, I didn't mask it off really, I went around all the parts that are going to be clear, and I put the Elmer's glue on the sensor dome to give it the same effect as we did on the bridge. So what we're going to do is, this is all set, we're going to go ahead and we're going to glue this onto the bottom of the primary hull a little later, and there are actually decals that are going to go on this piece. So that's what that looks like now. Alright, back to the decals. I think we're going to do the we'll do the bottom of the saucer first. So they do have the Registry decals. Let's put that aside, as well as the decals that we were using for the nacelles, but this is going to be for the secondary hull. And we got to the bottom. So this is the bottom of the saucer section, and let's put these over here. These are the top. So we can put the rest aside for now because we don't really need them until we do the secondary hull. Alright, we'll do the bottom first. So let's take a look at the bottom. The bottom of the hull also has the sensory bands that you guys hopefully can see with the little docking ports on it. And let's get the wax paper off the back. And on the bottom you can see the area where the impulse decks would be and the impulse crystals. And this is what I was telling you guys about the decals that are going to go on the sensor band or the sensor dome. And for the most part, it looks pretty straightforward. We can start cutting it out. And what I want to do is I want to keep the pattern. So when we cut it out, I'm going to put it on a pattern. We'll wet sections and then we'll do it that way. Again, the sad part about this is because it's not like professional from round 2, the decals, you actually have to cut right up against the edge in order to get the decals. If not, you'll have all this extra material. So I think what we're going to start doing is we're going to start cutting everything out. So we're going to use the CA glue. A little bit of activator, and I like to put the activator in the bag just because I like to use a brush. And we're going to put some of the activator, and we're going to go along the edge. I hope you guys can see the way it looks when it's on. Alright, gotta separate that. When we look at the bottom, That looks pretty cool. Alright, so now we're going to wait for that to dry, and let's get all the decals ready. And we're going to start with the bottom of the saucer section. I think the longest part of this video is going to be cutting out all these decals. Okay, so we finally get everything cut out. The only thing left of that sheet are the sensor bands around the perimeter of the primary hub, but we're going to hold off on doing that for now. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to start putting the decals onto the bottom of the primary hub. Going to go in front of the ship. Hopefully you guys can see the area where the decals are. It almost looks purplish. I'm going to put just a bit of the micro set, and we're going to put that on the decals that we just did. The micro set adds it acts kind of like an adhesive to put them into place. Again, a micro set is going to add an adhesiveness to it. There. I hope it's showing up on camera, because you can see with the naked eye, it's almost like a purplish effect. So, I think what we're ready to do now is we're ready to start moving on. And we're going to start with the outside. I think I'm going to start with this section. Touch it, so there. It was pretty cool. The thing about these decals is they do come off relatively well. For the most part, they do stay together. There. You see that's making a little bit of a difference as opposed to the ones around the sensor. You can see some markings starting to appear now. The structures. That one went on really nice. So you can see we got about halfway done. And let's do the next 3 panels now. And now we're going into our final 3 decals for the Aztecing on the bottom. So we got all the decals on, and I think what we're going to do now is we're going to put the micro sol on and the micro set, and we're going to let it dry. Okay, so it's had some time to dry, and check it out. I think it looks pretty cool. I like how it looks almost purplish. And when we put on the clear coat, it's really going to pop. So let's go ahead and light it up. I'll show you guys the sensor dome area. Then we got the registry lighting and the phaser arrays and the impulse crystals. And we got the impulse engines. And eventually what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch up with some more paint, because I put 2 coats, but it's still pretty, a little too translucent. And we've got the bridge. So I think what we're going to do now is, the bottom is all set. We're going to go ahead and focus our attention on the top. So we're going to put this aside, and we're going to cut out all the decals like we did for the bottom. So we have the areas, B and C decks that go around the bridge area itself, and more of the little areas around the bridge and B deck. You can see for the side of the ship, for the top part. see, we did the outer rim, the bottom, and we did the top. And again, I like how it has that kind of a purplish tint. Now there are a couple of decals that are going to go up here. Okay, so it has some time to dry. It looks really cool. Got the decals fitting nicely. You see the underneath of the ship. So now we're ready to move on, and we're going to do the hull markings, the registry numbers, things of that nature. And we also, if you remember from earlier, we have the bands that go on the outer rim. We had to do the Aztecing along the outer rim first. So we can go ahead now and we can get all the decals ready. Oh, also, we're going to be using 27A and 27B, and that's actually going to go along the side. So let's get these right now. Let's do this part first. We need 2/16s. These are going to go on the bottom of the primary hull. There. Hopefully you guys be able to see the detail. And we're going to move on. And the word Titan is going to go in the back, right over here. Pretty cool. So the thrusters are on, and let's see if we can do the registry numbers. And it's going to go right over there in the center. Actually looks good just where it is. Alright, let's move on to the other side. There, I think what I want to do is I want to put some micro set along the outer rim, and then we can move on to the top. Let's start with the phaser arrays. You guys can see the top. It's looking pretty wild. So I'm going to go ahead and put some micro set again in the areas that we just put on. And when it's all dry, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put the micro sol on everything. Sure that we get the light block in that area. If you guys can see that, it looks a little more screen accurate, but the red, it's tough because the red is so watery, the translucent red, and it's just bleeding right through the white. For the lights, I should have probably toned it down on the lights a little bit bright. And there we are. We're going to let everything dry. They'll be ready to move on. Okay, so everything had time to dry. And the decal setting solution got a chance to work. Everything is all adhered to the ship. And it looks really cool, I think. You see the phasers and the thrusters. And we get the vents on either side, and we get the little docks, the docking ports, and we have the back where the impulse engines are, the back of the ship. And looking at the bottom, again you can see the registry marking, the impulse crystals, and again the phaser arrays. Let's go ahead and light it up. And just picture this, because this is where the nacelle the saucer pylon is going to go. And when these touch, it flickers, so don't worry about that. So looking at the back, hopefully you guys can see the area. When we do the final assembly, we'll touch up the paint as needed. And looks pretty cool. Titan A. You see the registry markings in the front, NCC-80102-A. All the lights. Well, my friends, this is the conclusion of the primary hull on this magnificent ship. So, the next video in this series, we're going to be doing the secondary hull. So, my friends, until we do the secondary hull, I thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.